All right, and we are live. Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Gaming Perspective podcast. It is Canadian Turkey Day, and I am stuffed full of great food and barely awake, so it's going to be a fantastic show. As always, we have a great smaller panel tonight than the past few weeks. Jared is still on siesta. We are hoping to hear and see him back on this show very soon. And introducing the regular panel of gentlemen that join me every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Mr. Samuel Not Yet Canceled Tolbert.
That's right. I have not been canceled because I do not work for Amazon, but more on that at a later time. It's good to be with you guys as usual. My bros, Jared, still miss you out there. But I'm also cracking the whip on him, so I'm kind of two-faced when it comes to that. I'm kidding. Let's get going. There's a lot of good stuff to dive into.
There's a joke there, but I don't want to make it because people are still too sensitive. I'm just going to crunch right past it, okay? Eric.
You're putting in the overtime, I see.
Yes. It's that Saturday. It really kept me up together. Also introducing from the sunny lands of Florida, a man who is all too familiar with crunch himself, a man with the plan from the Basement Radio Arcade podcast, Mr. Eric Jackson.
What's going on, guys? I would like to say, once you're married, you know all about crunch. It's never done. The honey-do list is never ending. And then when you add kids to it, yeah.
There's something so appropriate from you being from Florida and your name is Overheated and Screwed.
It had all kinds of meanings, man. Yeah, seriously, we're in October, right? And it's still like 90, 95 in the middle of the day.
That's great.
It's terrible, man. Literally, it just downpoured like about 30 minutes ago, and then it stopped. And then earlier today, like a typhoon came through, like the sky turned like dark, like the Lord was coming. And then all this rain just dropped out, and then like 20 minutes after that, the sun was back out. It was beach weather again. Like Florida weather is bipolar, man.
Nah, I couldn't.
No offense to those with bipolar disorder out there.
No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault at all.
Trust me, as the person with bipolar disorder on this podcast, you're good. No one needs to get offended on my behalf, I promise you. No articles, please. Moving right along. God, how many underprods can I fit in this episode? This is going to be a fun episode. So, as everyone knows, every week is filled with gaming dramas galore and tons of announcements and things. So we're going to get right into it. And starting with the PlayStation 5 backwards compatibility mystery has slowly but surely been solved. So PlayStation put out an official blog post detailing what PlayStation 5 backwards compatibility was going to look like. It looks like there's a massive entire library of games, except for a few exceptions, which I cannot name any of them off the top of my head because none of those games sounded even remotely good.
I remember Shadow Complex Remastered.
Good game.
Yeah, that one is like the one that's like, oh, sad to see that. Like,
yeah, that was not the only one. The rest I was like, eh.
Okay. Yeah. The rest, it's like, what was it, Joe's Diner or something?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, good on you for making it, whoever made it. But I don't. Shadow Complex aside, I don't think anyone's crying over this.
Yeah, no. There's probably like 12 people offended in a Reddit thread somewhere. But the thing is I'm really happy to see this backwards compatibility rollout. It's really extensive and everything else. Though I have to wonder why it took them so long to talk about it. Because I understand like specific games are going to get boost mode and they haven't detailed what games are getting boost. Aside from Ghost of Tsushima, which my playthrough is now on hold because I am playing that at glorious 60 FPS mode on PlayStation 5. That will be butter smooth on PlayStation 5. But there's going to be games that are boosted. There's going to be games that aren't. Sam, because you are more technically minded than myself, what is the nuance to this? So is every game going to get boosted, or is it only going to be games with unlocked frame rate? Can you kind of explain that little bit of nuance, so it's because I see a lot of general confusion from people on that.
So the general confusion comes from the fact that, and this is to both their benefit but also their negative, Mark Cerny and the rest of the PlayStation engineers tend to err on the side of caution and under promise when it comes to their stuff. Like, remember with backward compatibility on PS4 Pro, initially no games that weren't specifically patched for the Pro could take advantage of the extra hardware. They couldn't take advantage of that, the extra GPU that was essentially duct taped, soldered in there, and they couldn't take advantage of the CPU boost. Eventually, a few months later, through testing, they realized, oh, this isn't actually going to hurt anything. Yeah, let's enable it as an option. It's fine. And that led to the Pro's boost mode. I am cautiously inclined to say this is a similar thing, where it probably more often than not will work with games, but they just don't want to promise anything just in case, because their backward compatibility isn't quite where Microsoft's is. Obviously, the back compat team over at Xbox is doing incredible things, and I just think Sony's taking a more cautious approach, and that's not a problem as long as all my games run, but it does lead to this confusing period of, okay, what games? What games run with boost mode? What games don't? Like, here's the interesting thing, though, about Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima, they said, is achieving 60 FPS through boost mode. But there is no, that doesn't make any sense, because there is no mode on Ghost of Tsushima that lets you unlock the frame rate. There is a performance mode on the Pro, but it just drops the resolution to make the 30 FPS more stable, make it more smooth. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, it's cool. Whatever they're doing is cool. I'm inclined to think that they're going to add like an extra toggle, but because it's just an extra toggle, it wasn't worth saying, oh, it's been PS5 enhanced. Does that make sense? Like, because they're not really enhancing it. They're just going, oh yeah, that's like three lines of code that I could write. That's like, if PS5 detected, set frame rate unlock, something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's exactly what's going on with that. It'll just be like a not to like play it down, but like a flip of the switch.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, you're like, where we couldn't do it here, now it's completely open and available. So boom, roll with it. So we'll see how it all kind of like rolls out. But I definitely think it's also one of those things too where, Microsoft definitely had more of a focus coming through Xbox One with backwards compatibility. And we've talked about it here. I've talked about it on the podcast too. Portions of that were definitely out of necessity to kind of fill some of those gaps, right? But it definitely has played out to their benefit. I think you'll probably see a little bit more of that from Sony. They're definitely being, I think you said, being a little bit more cautious, but I think you'll probably see more games in that boost mode, especially like from the first party standpoint.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, third party is what it is. They're going to do what they do. Sure, there's no guarantees with them, and I think that's on across the board too. I think you'll see the same thing like with the Series X. Yep. It's like whatever the developer decides that they want to do based on the hardware. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what that is. But I've been hearing on different podcasts people talking about the how Sony's rolling out and how they're talking or whatever, and hearing like Greg Miller mention this, and I even heard Colin mention this, and they said when it came to like the PS4, they said they themselves aren't completely that surprised, because even with the PS4, like they didn't go to an event to see it until like probably like a few weeks before it was going to launch, and they didn't get their hands on it until like a week before it launched. And then I was reminded that the UI itself, they didn't actually detail that until after it launched. So they just kind of beat to like their own drum, but we'll get more into that as the show goes on. It's just, I'm noticing that like more and more, sort of like that thing where it's like, they're just going to talk about it when they talk about it. I've kind of started thinking more in terms of like, and I've been calling the gaming community this week a lot. I didn't realize it's the bubble. I said, we kind of look at things differently in the bubble versus how the rest of the world looks at it. And I've been noticing that even more I've been talking to my cousin a little bit more about his gaming habits, just naturally, because I have his pre-order for his PS5. So we've just been catching up and talking about things, and then talking to buddies of mine. I'm just like, man, we really do analyze things on a whole different level in this little sphere of Twitter versus what other people think, in the rest of the world. So I definitely think, we want to see it. We want to know what's going on, but it is good. It's cool that they're starting to drop more of that information It's just a different contrast in what Microsoft is doing.
Sure.
You know,
it's different strokes. They're going for different things. Honestly, with them, and I don't mean this as an insult, it's just like, as long as the games are all there. If you were like, if at the last minute and there was no chance they were going to, but if they had been, oh yeah, by the way, like God of War doesn't run, sorry about that. Like that would have been a problem. That didn't. Breathe it in, breathe it out. We can move on. That's my take, personally.
See, to wrap up on this one, I think with the backwards compatibility stuff, as we know, and we've been critical of PlayStation and Xbox, of course, on their messaging the past few months on certain aspects of things. I think Sony really wanted to sit down with this one, make sure they got the messaging right, everything was ready to go, they fully understood what they were signing up for. I think they don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, and more of keep expectations in check, and then if they manage to break what your expectations were, that's a happier feeling, because I've always myself been more of a fan of, I'd rather you leave me underhyped before announcing something and then having your announcement blow my mind than being overhyped and then your announcement still be good but not quite being what you hyped it up to be. So I think with the backwards compatibility rollout, they're being very smart with it. It's something new for them. I don't mean it's new. I know people are going to be like, but they did it with the PS3. That was hardware versus software compatibility, and I just think that they're being very cautious with it because Xbox has a lot more experience with it. So them tossing around we've got 1,000 games at launch, that makes sense because you guys have been doing it for a few years. PlayStation, this is, I'm not going to say a brand new venture. They've definitely been working on it for a while. I just think they're very cautious with how they want to roll it out because let's face it, if there is a fan base that is hungrier for news right now than anyone, it's the PlayStation fan base constantly. And they definitely don't want to set expectations too high to disappoint because the lashback from that would not be friendly, so to speak. But yeah, backwards compatibility, and I will stand on my wooden soapbox. Backwards compatibility was cool and has always been cool, and it's great to see it become basically a standard for next generation besides that Nintendo device over by my TV. Apparently, I pay $60 to play Nintendo 64 games on it. And I really enjoy it. But Nintendo aside, it's a great move, great announcement. We'll see more. My only nitpick is I would love to have seen something running, and I know that's a lot to ask in like a COVID era thing. But when we've seen so much of the stuff in backwards compatibility from Xbox, even if they just show God of War or one of their premier titles running with some enhancements or anything else, I'd be a happy camper. Unless they did that with Ghost of Tsushima and I just missed it.
No, I didn't see that. Okay. With Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
But it was really interesting watching people be actually excited about those announcements from Sucker Punch on, what's going to be rolling out with that.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the thing is like people can do their console war thing over backwards compatibility and yada, yada, yada. But I think with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One generation, specifically this generation, there were so many great games I don't want to lose. And that's the same thing as like the reason I don't want to lose those games is because I lost my PS3 games. Right? Like I lost my PlayStation 3 games. There are so many amazing games that are trapped on some of the most garbage hardware that exists right now. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. Go plug your PlayStation 3 in and call me when it updates in 3 weeks.
Right.
But it sucks that those games are only some are playable through PlayStation Now, but a lot of them aren't. So how do you play those games? You have to go find the original hardware. It's a pain. It's my same argument with Nintendo all the time. Backwards compatibility is awesome. Nintendo keeps switching between disc and cartridges, so you can't really do it. They do those stupid little GameCube discs, I don't know what they did with the Wii U because I can't remember. I think they used full-size discs in the Wii U, and then they used cartridges for the Switch. I'm honestly waiting for the N64 block cartridges to return, and you got to plug that into the top of your Switch or something.
Yeah, I still I do wonder, because again, when it comes to the backwards compatibility thing, there's an audience that definitely is all about it, and I think there's also an audience that is sort of it's there, but it's not really the thing I'm looking for. So it's almost like that thing where you have, like again, like a company that where it was like, preparation met opportunity. Like they were in the right place with it at the right time for it to be like a big talking point, right? And it's definitely the energy that they're pushing, again, sort of in that vein of, not necessarily having anything else lined up. That thing that they had lined up is not there for them right now. So it's like, yeah, we're going to make sure that message of you still have everything there is great. I think, from an architecture standpoint from last generations, that was something that came into play when we had, this backwards compatibility discussion. It was like, just wasn't that thing. But now going forward, these things are definitely more like mini PCs. So you have the thing that the PC audience has always kind of had. And I still think you have two companies that were in the backwards compatibility space at a time where, if you really think about it, people didn't necessarily care about it as much as they're talking about it again inside like this bubble, right? Yeah. So I think they're probably, and again, I've said this before, if it's something that is truly what people really talk about a lot and it's something that people really hammer down on, the market will dictate that and they will adjust and act accordingly to it. Because no company is going to miss out on something if it's talking dollars or if it's talking something that's bringing people to their ecosystem. So if they start seeing that it's definitely something that's more, they'll start talking about it more.
Yep.
And then I think, honestly, I do think this will be something that Microsoft will still talk about, but I do wonder, will they talk about it as much when their newer games start rolling in, when you start seeing this payoff from the studios that they've invested in? Because the conversation might change a little bit there,
My argument to that is there's not really much of a conversation to have about backwards compatibility after the new console rolls out. Because if you've got thousands of games backwards compatible, that kind of ends the conversation.
That's a good point too,
right? Like it's not like when Xbox One was rolling out backwards compatible games every couple of months, and we were getting like batches of games. It's just your games come with you. That's it. That's the end of the conversation.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Now it's what can you do next, and that's right.
What you're basically doing is saying, hey, man, that engine is going to work. You got something, you're good to go. When you get in the car, it's going to crank up. You're good. Don't worry about that part of it anymore. We're going to move forward and hit the gas type of thing. It's sort of like put that part of your head, your worry to bed. If you want to access those things, you'll have the option to do it. Again, for the people who don't care about it, you'll continue on as you always did. For the people who do, you have access.
Yep. Options.
And Nintendo's like, we'll still be selling it to you for $60. But again, it's like you said, these things were trapped, and some are still trapped on hardware. So how many years we finally got Mario Sunshine? Yep. And yeah, so it's like
we're getting
no matter how mad people were, they still bought it.
Yeah. I wasn't one of them, but people did. People did. And
I'm there. I'm in there. I haven't played it yet. I haven't even opened the thing yet, but yeah, I'm in there.
But as we move on, I will say congrats to Sony and Xbox making the Series X and PlayStation 5 big enough to fully conceal a full Xbox One and PlayStation 4 inside for full backwards compatibility.
With an actual person inside working it.
Yeah. What, you didn't see the symbol monkeys inside the PlayStation 5 teardown? That's a joke. It's a joke. Please calm down.
Nick said monkeys on this podcast.
Great. That'll be it.
That'll be the clip. Speaking of things they're monkeying around, let's talk a little bit about Apple. So Apple, as we all know, stonewalled a couple of big names. They're currently embattled with Epic Games in a lawsuit in which I hope they do that on a deserted island and the island sinks while both companies are inside the courtroom. But so Epic Games is battling with Apple about their quote-unquote walled garden and everything else in the most completely ironic fight for consumerism between two of the most anti-consumer companies. And Microsoft had a little bit of an issue with their Xbox Game Pass because Apple wanted to extend the olive branch, I believe, and was like, hey, you can still have Xbox Game Pass and your game streaming on iOS devices. You just have to individually certify each game through our application process. So that wasn't happening. And then a little bit ago, there was that little thing called Amazon Luna, which we're going to talk about at some point later, and what that could possibly mean. But Amazon Luna was available through iOS through web browser. And now reports coming out. I first saw this from Business Insider, and The Verge also followed up with a report on it. Reportedly, Microsoft is looking to bring Xcloud to iOS devices via a web browser in 2021. This lines up with the fact that many people have forgotten about, is that Xcloud is coming to PC, which will, I believe, probably play through a web browser. I could be wrong. So it kind of makes sense that that's all coming together at the same time, reportedly, and I put reportedly in there because I don't honestly know myself firsthand. It has already been under testing for the past few months. So this is a workaround that Xbox has known for a while. So as a new iPhone 11 owner, thanks to my job, this is really great news for me, because when Xcloud dropped, I lost my Android phone, so I was really sad. So I'm kind of excited for this news. What about you guys? I'll swing this to Eric, because I believe Sam's on Android, so he's just smiling and doing along. So I'll ask him for his industry thoughts on this. But Eric, as an iPhone user, are you interested in this, or are you not into the whole Xcloud thing?
Oh no. I'm not like a how do I say this? Like, I like Xcloud. Like, I was in the beta, and checking it out when it came to iOS, even though that we see where that went, right? And I thought it was like really cool. I'm always for having like the option, even if it's something I'm not going to use, like, probably use often, because I don't travel a lot. And if I'm home, obviously I'm going to be on my console over, and over sitting on the couch, or whatever the case may be. So, I want the option. I just wish like that it wasn't so walled off as far as like iOS or the App Store goes. I don't know why they're still so archaic with that, because while I may not be the person that's looking for iCloud daily, there are people out there who also don't want to give up their iPhone. They prefer that ecosystem, or they have it for work, or, that's what everybody in their family uses. There's a lot of different reasons people have the devices that they have. So I'm all for the workaround. Whatever you got to do, to kick people in the nuts if they're not working with you. If they're at least working with you, that's different. Or like I look at like right now, I know there's like a big war going on quietly between Amazon, Roku, and HBO Max. Like, we are how many months into HBO Max being out there, and there's no app on two of the biggest platforms in the streaming space, because they're in battle, in a financial money thing, and they're pulling back and forth at each other. So that's a different thing, when you're battling it out that way. But if you're just like, no, we just don't want to do it, because again, it's about money. We want the lion's share. We want you to go through our policies, and they're not requiring the same thing of other companies who kind of have their own streaming thing going on. It's just weird, and then we know what it comes down to is they have their own gaming thing that they're trying to do. They don't want that competition. They don't want eyes on something else. But do what you got to do. And if you find a cagey way to get, I don't want to say cagey. If you find a sneaky way in, like the Sam Fisher way in, and that's how you do it, and it's above boards, and there's a way to do it, and hey, they left the door open, go in.
Yep.
Yep.
It's like that meme gif with the Metal Gear Solid soldier with his legs up by his shoulders and he's duck walking. That's exactly how I imagine Xbox is putting Xcloud on iOS devices. They're just dressing Aaron Greenberg up like that and go Aaron, get into the Apple headquarters. But Sam, from an industry perspective, what do you think about this move? Is this going to pan out, or my question to you is, if it's over your league of knowledge on it, just tell me to shut up. Could Apple find a way to be like, no, you guys aren't doing this through our web browser? Off.
Okay, so I'll address this in reverse, and I'll address that part first. They could, in theory. Apple could block a web browser and say, okay, we're going to block a website. They have that right through iOS. However, they are currently being investigated as one of 4 big tech companies that have monopolies, according to the House. The other 3, for whatever it's worth, are Google, which should go without saying, Amazon, which should go without saying, and Facebook, which again should go without saying. Those 3 and Apple, those 4 big tech are considered to have monopolies in their fields. So could they block it? Yes. However, when you are already being threatened with legal action, from the House to break your company up, and loosen restrictions because you're perceived a monopoly, it's not a good idea to go, oh yeah, we're just blocking these websites through our devices, just complete freedom of speech reversal, complete freedom of access reversal. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They would be bringing the hammer down, and they'd be bringing it down quick. That would be inviting disaster right now. So could they? Yes. Will they? No. They are going to grit their teeth and watch it. Now, on the other side of things with Xbox, when Amazon Luna, and I don't think Amazon is in much better of a position than Google is for reasons we will be discussing shortly. But I will say it was clever of them to have their streaming service on iOS through the browser, because it's like, what are you going to do? I'm amazed Google didn't think of it. And the moment I saw that announced when Amazon Luna was revealed, I was like, okay, it's not an if, it's a when Xbox does the same thing.
Yeah.
They're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to get it through there. That's how they'll get it done. So, congrats, iOS users. It'll come to you sometime next year.
Well, I mean, like, who thought Stadia never even thought of that? Because let's face it, Google forgot to even add Stadia support to their 2021 tech devices. So, like,
yep, exactly.
Man, you thought Xbox was neglected by Microsoft a few years ago. Talk to the Stadia team. But yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. I look forward to trying it out. I didn't really have an Android phone that was worth testing it out when the test flight was going on for Xcloud. So I'm really hopeful in 2021 I'll get to play with it. And hopefully Razer will have some great Apple-based controller attachments and whatnot going forward. Unless their stuff's already iPhone capable. I don't know. But yeah, we'll wait and see how it unravels. This has been a golden week. And by golden week, I don't mean it was amazing week. It was a shit week. But a lot of games went gold this week. So instead of individually going through each game and everything else, we're just going to do a quick list. Basically, the games that went gold this week, Cyberpunk went gold, and a whole thing became out of that. That was interesting. Gears Tactics went gold for its console release next month. Bugsnax went gold with 2 sausage arms way up. And Spider-Man Miles Morales also went gold this week as well. So congratulations to those teams, the work they have been doing and will still be doing up until launch. Biggest thing I ever see people go, oh, the game went gold. The team can breathe.
Yeah, right.
They're going to be working on that thing we call a day one patch for the next month. But no, shout outs to those teams. Next generation's almost upon us.
You good there? You got that worked out?
Upon us. I'm done. I'm so done. Next generation's almost upon. I'm done. I'm so done. Watch Dogs Legion is in 19 days. Cyberpunk is just a little bit over a month away. Xbox Series X launch is officially, that's the 12th, right? No. Yes?
Cyberpunk is the 19th.
No. I'm talking consoles. It's Series X.
Yeah.
Series X is the 12th. PlayStation 5 is the 10th.
Reverse it.
Oh, no. That.
There you go.
See, this is what happens when you don't have pre-orders. You don't know dates. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, somewhere in the 17th? 17th? No, it's the launch day.
No, it was bumped up to the 10th.
Yep, launch day for Series X. Yakuza Like a Dragon, November 10th. Gears Tactics, November 10th. Cyberpunk 2077, November 19th. Still, unless they change that too.
That'll be next year for me, though. No, whenever they do the update.
Yeah.
I'm I waited this long. I'm playing that on the best scenarios possible.
That's totally fair.
Yeah. And I don't have the PC, so yeah.
All I can say is, can you imagine the fact that they were going to try and cram Halo Infinite in this?
That is something to not to dredge the conversation with that game up, but it may very well fare better in if it comes out in 6 months instead of right now, because it's packed. Mm-hmm. It is packed right now. Oh, and the Medium, I don't think it went gold, but we do have a date, December 10th.
Yeah, December 10th for the medium. That is a horror game I will attempt to get my Chicken Little Legs intact for and play through. I downloaded Resident Evil 7 today through Game Pass, so pray for me.
Good game. Very good game.
Very good game.
But yeah, no, it's exciting times. A lot of these developers have been hard at work, and I look forward to playing all their games in the free time that I will find while writing new console launch coverage. And yeah, I don't know how I'm going to live. I'm cloning myself. Sam, cloning? Is this where we're going? Cloning?
Yeah.
We
can look into it.
All right. Support us on Patreon so we can clone ourselves so we can play more games.
There you go. Like clone number 4 streaming on Thursday.
So we get to talk about Anthem 2.0. I mean, Marvel's Avengers.
Hey.
Ooh.
So the only thing, never mind. That was going to be a bad taste joke. I was going to say the only thing dying faster than Marvel's Avengers. Moving on. We're going to. This is this is a tasteful show. So Marvel's Avengers has been plummeting in player count, especially on PC. It is already sub 1,000 players concurrently on PC. Wow. And the console numbers aren't faring much better. People have been reporting. I actually went into the subreddit for it. People are actually reporting up to anywhere between 7 to 15-minute wait times in matchmaking, which freaking blows my mind because it's Marvel Avengers. Like, how the hell can you not make this work at all? It might have something to do with the patch that came out after launch that fixed like 196 known bugs and issues. That might have been part of it. So I'm going to toss this over to Sam because I did not buy this game because Marvel doesn't tweak me like that. But you bought Marvel's Avengers, and you have said quite frequently in our DMs, I have mixed feelings about it. I'll talk about it sometime.
Yeah, it's always amusing saying that you have no intention of buying a game and then finding out from your work, oh, yes, you will. It's always funny how that works out. That was not Sam's sudden change of heart, to be clear. No Grinch 3-sizing this day. But rather, instead, I was assigned to do some content for it, so I picked it up. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. That game is literally 2 games crudely welded together. You can tell the game Crystal Dynamics wanted to make, which is this heartfelt story of a young girl, becoming a young woman, being inspired by the Avengers and bringing them back together in a very comic accurate, compelling, awesome way with great combat, swapping between the characters, just really, really great moments. And then there's the service game element side of it, which is basically if someone looked at the worst of Anthem and Destiny and said, yeah, we can do that. We can do it worse. We can do it. And it's awful. Like, I have never seen 2 halves of a game be so jarring. So unfortunately, I'm not surprised. I've stopped playing it. The reality is there just isn't anything compelling to do. I don't want to do the same 10 generic fight robots, get loot missions all over again. There's no big 4 to 6 player raids. There's no it's just. I'll go back in when more characters are added. I will at this point. I'll go back in and check out when Hawkeye is added or Kate or any of the others they have. The rumor is Black Panther and Doctor Strange as well. Spider-Man on PlayStation, obviously. I'll jump back in to check that out, but right now, it just there's nothing. And another thing, for a game that it's very bare bones end game is already dependent on having co-op players together, right? It's already very, very, very dependent on that. There's no crossplay, and I'm warning you, if we've already talked about how your multiplayer probably needs to be free to play in some aspect to really be big these days. But if it doesn't have crossplay, even if it's paid, it's not good. I have a couple of friends who I would easily, happily be playing the game with and grinding stuff out, because at least then we could get the achievements together or whatever. But no crossplay, so I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll have their big Taken King moment next year. Maybe they'll add crossplay. They have, to their credit, been crushing the bugs. A lot of the big bugs have been fixed. We'll see. I'm not surprised, but if I'm Crystal Dynamics or Eidos Montreal who are doing support work, I'm sorry, but I can't help but be thinking we got pulled off of Tomb Raider and Deus Ex for this. That thought would be in my head.
Yeah. I love Crystal Dynamics as a studio. They're a fantastic studio. They did amazing with the Tomb Raider games and everything else. But if I was Square Enix, I was like, who could I get to make a service game? Crystal Dynamics would pretty much be at the bottom of the list for me. Like they make, as you said, they make dynamic single-player games, like amazing single-player experiences. And as you said, there's a really great single player, like a story, a campaign that really matters, that really makes me think, why instead of making this a service game, didn't we make this like Marvel's Ultimate Alliance and just have a really good 20-hour co-op campaign? Like, why didn't we just do that? Because I feel like that would have sold more gangbusters than them shoehorning in a live service game, hoping a ton of people would pay into it because it's Marvel. Because that feels like what it ended up being. Which is sad because it's a waste of a great team. And the fact that Eidos Montreal has been completely turned into a support studio on a games as a service game just makes me want to go shoot myself in the head. Like, so Eric, you gonna buy Marvel's Avengers after Sam's thoughts there?
I'm sorry, Eric, but that was the greatest pause there. I loved it.
It's very frustrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just for the fact that I've heard from numerous people how good, like Sam was saying, how good the story portion of it is. But then the other side of it is just like, it's like meh, whatever the case may be, right? So I don't right now have any intentions of picking up and playing it, even though I love the Avengers, I love Marvel. That Steelbook is beautiful, the one that they have.
Good. Yeah.
I would love to have that. So if anything, I would pick it up just to have that. I won't really get into it and play it. Maybe I will, like once the new consoles launch and I'm in that world or whatever. Maybe I will. But it just, I don't know. Just to touch on what Nick kind of said, and if you guys will forgive me for once again bringing this in, it's like sort of like when Scalebound came, and I'm like, and they were talking multiplayer and all this stuff. I'm like, you're working with Platinum Games. When have they ever shown you that they have a great grasp on doing multiplayer? And it sounds the same thing with this situation. And on top of that, like a Destiny level, an Anthem level type of game. I'm like,
yeah, that's next level. That's not just co-op. That's a loot system. And
that's like, and look how many have jumped in and have failed.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still going to push forward. I'm like, I'm watching all these companies that have want to attempt doing this, and I'm like, there's a disconnect there. I don't know what it is, because like you have so many who have tried and gave you the roadmap of what not to do, and you all launched the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand like what's going on with that. So I kind of looked at that and said, would this game have fared better as just being a story-based game with co-op missions, and then maybe the part of it is, they keep updating the mission structures, or they keep updating it with content that way, if that's what they want to do, and not worry about the loot systems and all this other stuff. Because again, it's a weird thing to have. That kind of makes sense for something like an Iron Man, but it's like, you got loot systems for Hulk, you got loot systems for all these other things, and it's just
nano machine, purple nano machine.
it's just weird, It's like, yeah, man. I don't know. Then I'm like, who are you going for on that? Because when you have a property like this, it scales across so many demographics, age-wise.
Yeah.
But I don't know too many like younger kids who really want to get involved with the Destiny loot grind aspect of things. I don't. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. I don't know.
No, usually Destiny usually draws in guys in their 30s to 40s that podcast a lot.
Right.
Not targeting anyone specifically. Cough, cough, hat. Cough, cough, hat. But the fact of the matter is you're right. It's such a weird mashup of things, and whenever I think ultimate co-op experience, I think of Marvel Ultimate Alliance, because that's such a bloody brilliant game, and I will continue to bring it up. I didn't even like Marvel as a kid, but that game was so much fun. You're just beating stuff up as superheroes. And like that is the most easy way to hook somebody in. Not, oh ho ho ho. Hulk has purple hands, but he has Derrick Rose knees. I need to grind to get some better knees for Hulk. Nobody wants to do that. There is nobody on earth that wants to do that. And if you are going to have a loot system, make it useful, make it interesting, make it compelling. Because there's so many of these games that just do not seem to grasp this. We have not seen a looter shooter or a hack and slash looter or a schlooter or whatever we want to call it. We haven't seen one launch yet properly where it's like, yeah, this is a great game right off the bat. The Division 2 was arguably the closest, but even then it was a little shaky. All these games have required major expansions, to fix issues. Destiny did with the Taken King and then did with Forsaken with Destiny 2. The Division 2 did with Warlords in New York. But the Anthem is talking about Anthem 2.0, but really hasn't shown anything about it. So I can't believe that's still a thing BioWare is wasting their time with. They could just let it die, and the 5 people playing Anthem, I'm sorry, Dan, would be upset about it with his $50 in microtransaction currency that he still has. But the thing is like this Marvel's Avengers game is just another example of you really need to know your audience if you're going to do a loot game. And we're seeing it already with people with Godfall, where people are like, oh, can you do this? And they're like, no. And they're like, well, what the hell? And it's like,
Fun fact, crossplay still hasn't been confirmed for Godfall yet. I don't know if it's in or not. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. Like,
yeah. So,
and wait, let me ask you: does Destiny have crossplay?
It's getting it. It is getting it.
They have cross progression. They don't have cross play.
They have cross progression right now across all platforms. I think. Don't quote me on this. I think the way it works is you pick one as your main one, and then the others sync to the progress on that account. I think is how it works. Mm-hmm. Someone please correct me, Cog, correct me if you're listening out there. But I think it works something like that. And it's getting full crossplay sometime next year is the plan.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. None of these joints, the thing they all have in common is none of them have launched with crossplay or had crossplay in their lifetime.
In terms of the looter shooters, yes. Borderlands 3, another looter shooter, is getting crossplay next year. Another one.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting. The game that we were all kind of initially like meh on when it was very first shown was Outriders, right?
Right. Yep.
But talking about their gameplay loop has me actually more intrigued than any of the other ones, because they're talking about it in terms of not necessarily going after and being the next Destiny. They're just like, we're going to be this, co-op shooter. There's going to be, it's a story. You play it, and maybe there's content later.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
all right, guys.
It looks like, I've said before, I don't think it's visually super appealing, but I will say a bunch of people on my team have gotten the chance to like demo it, to do streams or like playtest of it, and they said it plays fantastic. So
I mean, it looks like it's got things that we all kind of dig. It's got it looks like a Gears type, gameplay with the Destiny elements and stuff like that. So I'm like, hey, mash them together and see what you got, and stay away from trying to be like a persistent online, shooter with like these leveling systems. And God forbid, you get COVID and have to quarantine for 14 days and you lost all your light level. Or your friends are like super light level. Like, hey, we don't like you anymore. You're not on our level anymore.
Man, I booted up my Destiny 2 character from launch. I'm like light level like 186. And I asked somebody, I was like, what's the light level for Destiny now? They're like, oh, why? What light level are you? I'm like, 186. They're like, I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess that's low.
I think they're like 2,000 now or something like that. Some craziness, something like that.
It's sort of getting to be like a Dragon Ball Z, right? Like at a certain point, the power level just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and again, to the more power to those who like Destiny up talked to Forte about this and stuff, and I said Destiny right now, I will always love the aesthetic. I love kind of just jumping in and checking it out, but it's just there to me personally. There's just nothing inviting to bring me in because I know what it's going to take to really be involved in that game, and I'm just not willing to commit that because there are other games I want to play. I don't want to be married to Destiny.
Right.
You know, I want to enjoy it. What's that?
Because you have taste. But no, I agree with you. Like Destiny, like I remember playing the original beta for the like Destiny when that first dropped. Everyone was like, Bungie's new game. It was like the biggest freaking deal in the world because it was like Halo sucks and we need Bungie to save us kind of deal. And I remember playing the beta and going, this is a beautiful world with the potential for insane amounts of lore that I can read on my smartphone. And the gunplay is some of the best I've seen in an FPS game pre-Doom 2016. But the whole loot loop and everything else is just so not appealing to me. I am not a looter dude by any stretch of the imagination. It does not matter how aesthetically good or how great the game looks. Like I look at Godfall, I look at the combat, I look at the world, I look at the bosses. I'm like, oh hell yeah. And then I'm like, looter. I'm like, boom, I'm gone. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing looter games. I find something immensely frustrating about if I shoot you with a gun, it should do damage. I don't care if you're 20 levels higher than me. It does damage. That like as soon as you start messing with that, you gotta do it in a hilarious way like Ghost of Tsushima. You're not supposed to be here. We're gonna turn you into an arrow shish kebab. That's fine.
Yeah. But sorry, I didn't know. You're running down. They're just pegging you with arrows.
like Running Man.
Who's shooting all these arrows with pinpoint precision? It's like
it's literally Robin Hood from Robin Hood Men in Tights, the old Mel Brooks film.
Got like a quiver of like 9 arrows at once, man.
Yeah, but no. I hope Crystal Dynamics can figure it out. Figure out what their community wants and builds off of that and continues pushing forward. Or they could just scrap the entire thing and give me a great Eidos Montreal game and a great Crystal Dynamics game. Let's go, people. Not that I have a preference. So Amazon, let's talk about it. So everyone remembers Crucible, right? No, I'm not talking about the game mode in Destiny. Because embarrassing fact, if you type Crucible into Google prior to them canceling the game, you got Destiny tips and tricks guides and not this game. So Crucible, the game by Amazon Game Studios and Relentless Games, I believe, was made in partnership and published by Amazon Games. It was released earlier this year, and then they pulled it back into open beta because the player base tanked the first week. And when I mean tanked, I mean it went from like 10,000 players concurrently to like 140. So they pulled it back and put in a closed/open beta. Basically, if you had the game download, you could still play it, but you couldn't download it anymore. And then they said they were going to work on community feedback, and we're going to keep building the game around the community we have. And apparently Amazon wasn't all about that. In a blog post from the developers, they said with much sadness that they were moving on in terms of the project. There's going to be a couple of final huzzas. They're doing some community game nights along with a final stream before they pull the servers offline on November 9th. A couple of things I want to highlight here that I think is really great. As someone who has been burned on games like this before, they're refunding anyone who actually spent in-game like money on in-game purchases. Any microtransactions spent, earned, or otherwise acquired will be refunded in full. And yeah, it sucks to see this, but this game was insanely generic. Like you look up the key art, you feel like you're looking at the classic like game from like 2015. You're like, oh yeah, that game, the one with the heroes and the shooty shoots. So they're moving on to this team. In case anyone's worried about the employees' well-being, will not be getting laid off or let go or anything else. They're all being moved on to other Amazon-based projects, along with the otherwise also generic-looking New World MMO. Because MMOs are the coolest thing in 2020, according to Amazon's interest groups. So let's kind of talk about this and talk about Amazon's future, because we had a community question in regards to, is this a sign of Amazon's future in the gaming space? I'm going to save myself for last. I kind of want your guys' thoughts on this so far.
Eric, do you want to go in?
Sam, get him, Sam.
Okay, there's a lot I could really dive in on here, so I'm going to try and compress it as much as I possibly can. Imran Khan wrote an incredible piece on inverse.com, and I believe there's a great piece on Washington Post as well. I don't remember who wrote it. Go read those about Amazon and why they've been unable to break into the gaming industry. Very long story short, it doesn't matter the money you have if you don't understand this industry. Google and especially Amazon, have this idea that if you're a manager of one product or project, you can just be a manager of another project or product. That doesn't work with gaming. It might work with 10,000 other things, but it does not work with gaming. You can't just, we've seen this so many times over and over again. You can't even just get talented people in the room and say, make. It's more complicated than that. You have to understand them. You have to understand the industry. You have to give them time and resources. And Amazon is doing this weird thing where they're insisting on building their own custom engine at the same time as building their other games and teams. And it doesn't, the problems that has caused, the Lumberyard engine, the problem that has caused are well documented. And then Crucible is just, it's focus tested to hell and back, much like Breakaway, the canceled multiplayer brawler. It was canceled in 2018, I believe. 2007? No, 2018. Yeah. Breakaway is the same way. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, who remembers it? Exactly. Just, why are you... You know what? Here's my frustration. I know Eric gets this. Why are you trying to, break in your baby teeth? Why are you trying to get your baby teeth in on a big multiplayer project? That doesn't make any sense. Do a single player game. Yep. Make an actual game with assets that you develop. Make a simple, don't make something huge. Make a simple single player game. Use that experience and the actual engine and then grow from there. Making multiplayer games is difficult enough when you're an acclaimed studio that has several, well-regarded Game of the Year contender single-player games behind your belt. See also Crystal Dynamics and Marvel's Avengers. We just got through talking about this. With the easiest IP in the world, the Avengers. The thing that, became the biggest grossing movie of all time. That whole thing. If they're struggling to do it, if they're finding it difficult, maybe you shouldn't be biting off more than you can chew. I'm sorry. I find this ridiculous. I find it absolutely ridiculous. Why are you doing this? Yeah. So, and they do this just days after, or a couple weeks, whatever, after announcing Amazon Luna, their gaming platform. So even though Amazon Game Studios, after being founded in 2014, now has one game in development, the New World MMO, which, to New World's credit, I have actually heard from multiple people who have played it that it's quite good. I know many people who actually say, no, feels like a promising MMO. So, and congrats to the team for, I guess, not being laid off. No one lost their jobs over this. Even though Crucible's being canceled, they're going to go do support work on New World. But I don't get it. Why wouldn't you at least wait until your platform, Amazon Luna, exits beta and bring Crucible to that with crossplay, right? At least try to recoup some of your money. Even if the game was a disaster and it didn't go anywhere, at least ship it. At least get it out the door and make it.
No. They shipped it and then went, unship.
Yeah, I know. That's my problem. That's my problem, Nick. I just don't get it. Amazon and Google and I've seen some people disparagingly, mockingly going like, oh, this is the big threat to the gaming industry. Yes, they are. And they still are, because they will spend money and not understand what they're spending money on. So yes, you can take your snark and shove it up your butt, as far as I'm concerned. They are just as big a threat to the industry, but even worse, they aren't actually going to carve out a part of it. They're just going to tear stuff away and not know what to do with it. Double Helix made an incredible Killer Instinct game. Microsoft had to pivot over to Iron Galaxy for Season 2 and Season 3 support work because Double Helix was bought by Amazon. You want to know what Double Helix has released since then?
Nothing.
Nada. Zilch. So, like, I don't know. I'm very frustrated over it because they have the resources to succeed, but it's clear they don't have the attitudes to succeed. And I feel bad for the talented people over there because there are, make no mistake, there are many talented people. Okay, some of the people leading these Amazon studios and leading their teams are like the people who helped found Valve, or Albert Pinello, previously from Microsoft, or previous high-ranking execs at SIE. Like, these are people who understand the industry, but their bosses don't.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I'm done. Sorry, that was brewing for a while, and I had to get it off my chest.
No, that makes sense, because the thing is, with gaming in particular, like you said, it doesn't matter how much dough you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a commitment to the long game.
Yep.
And people around you, and like you said, and an understanding of what it takes. And it's not, and they came to the party sort of like with the mentality of, what can we do to get in that makes us money?
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. We know you're a company, you want to make dough.
Sure.
Same with Sony, same with Microsoft, same with Nintendo. They want to make money.
Sure.
But understanding the process of implementing these structures, having this foundation is the long game of getting us to a goal of achieving and making that kind of money that we want to make in this industry. And it's a very nuanced thing that you're getting involved in. It would be like Microsoft saying, well, we're going to get into the shipping game,
yep.
of selling products and just ship. That's what Amazon does. And it's like, if you're going to get into gaming, if you have that kind of dough, then spend the dough on the resources to build your foundation.
Exactly.
Poach and find the best people in the industry who have built infrastructure, who have, developed, studios, bring them in, get their expertise, and figure out which way you need to go. And like you said, maybe that was some smaller titles. Maybe you need to do like a single player game just to cut your teeth and have people say, hey, oh, they actually are kind of serious about this. This game, okay, it didn't light the world on fire, but it was a fun game. Yep. That's how people start talking about you. But the steps you're taking now, it doesn't matter if you have dough, because there's plenty of people who have tons of dough, but that's like your kid getting his license and handing him a Ferrari at 16 years old.
Yep.
He may be responsible, it may go well, but the chances are that's not going to go well.
Yep.
Look, when you say cutting your teeth, I want to use a perfect example of I'm going to use a studio. I can't use a big, because we haven't had a big company just all of a sudden go, we're going to become a gaming company. No one's done that. And if you ever think Xbox just happened because Microsoft went, hey, we want to make a video game console, listen to Seamus Blackley talk about it sometime. It was not just, hey, we're going to make a video game console. It was literally a bunch of really passionate people going, we really, really, really want to do this. And Microsoft being, this is dumb, but all right.
You can have the basement. You can have the basement.
Right.
But I think a perfect example of a studio cutting its teeth and showing its true potential and really growing in favor with not a community, but with consumers as general whole is Asobo. Asobo made, I'm not going to say crappy, but licensed Disney games, for a lack of a better word. They all of a sudden put out Plague Tale Innocence, which is a short, I'm going to say AAA. You can fight me on that. That is a AAA game from a AA budget. Game that absolutely knocks the socks off of everyone who played it and went, whoa, what? How did they go from Finding Nemo 2 to this?
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's like, whoa, they're more than just this. They did Flight Sim now, too. And you look at how well that game's been done and how well that's been handled. Asobo is now a studio that's on a lot of people's radar. What are they doing next? What can we expect from them? You know, we're going to get another Plague Tale game. That's exciting. And like things like that. But that's how you build that candor with people. And Amazon suffers from the same problem as Microsoft does in terms of they are a trillion-dollar, billion-dollar, whatever company, and people are immediately gonna get defensive when they try to enter the space. People aren't gonna give Amazon a fair shake because they're like, ew, it's a multi-billion-dollar company trying to money hat their way into the gaming industry. And a lot of people are gonna need to see a really good and compelling game to make them go, I've got to give that a shot. And Crucible wasn't it. And I really don't think New World is, because if Blizzard comes out swinging with World of Warcraft, yeah, good night. Because every MMO nerd has nostalgia for that game. So rest in peace. But the thing is you need to have people that understand the sphere. I feel like Amazon needs to make a board. I don't know if they have one, but they need a board of people that have worked in the gaming industry for like 20 plus years to go, hey, this is how you do. This is how the industry works. Because Amazon just doesn't seem to understand how the industry works. They think that, oh, we just create a product and people buy it. Because that's what Amazon does. Amazon supplies you a product, you buy it, you put it in your cart, it shows up in your house from an infrared drone that could probably missile you at a moment's notice. And away you go. That's how they do things. And they're distribution company over everything else. And it just blows my mind that they're so, like, the gaming sphere of them is so incompetently run that they have a platform as massive as Twitch.
Yep.
And you're telling me they couldn't get a free-to-play third-person shooter. It, like, from what I saw of Crucible, it's like if someone went, okay, we want you to make Fortnite, but a little bit different. And they're like, okay. Made it up, and then people didn't buy it. And they're like, well, why isn't it Fortnite? Because you have to hit a specific time with specific things. And I think Amazon just doesn't get that. And they're going to have a learning curve, or they're going to drop out of the race. And with Sony and Microsoft buying up studios and publishers and things like that, I think those two are preparing for Amazon and Google to go into, I wouldn't call it a panic buy-up spree, but we need to get stuff rolling faster than expected and buy a bunch of stuff. I think that's why you're going to see Sony and Microsoft continue making big dollar deals for acquisitions going forward. #insider. But we'll wait and see how it rolls out. What I really got to say, though, is I think what this really shows is really, even with missteps and everything through the years, just really shows how good Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony have been about being able to stay in the game for this long. Being in the games industry and staying in the games industry is not an easy thing. We've seen companies fold. We've seen companies pull out. Sega is not the same Sega that was when I was 4 years old. And it's just a really tough industry, and things can change at a moment's notice. So everyone's got to change, adapt, improvise, overcome, all that Bear Grylls knowledge. So hopefully we answered that community question. We get to talk about we get to talk about the big boy, the thick boy, the PS5. They should just call it the PS5 thick. If they do not use that at some point, I want a bigger one. If they do a PlayStation 5 Pro, I want it to be twice as thick. I want the PlayStation 5 thick. I don't care if you have to do a double disc drive or what, but just make that happen for me, Sony.
So we wanted to say on the box, THICC.
Yeah. No, I don't want the CK. Get out of here with the CK. I want the CC. I want the PlayStation 5.
It's all about the CC. It's all about the CC.
All about the CC. We had 150 CC up in here. But the thing is, so we got PlayStation 5 teardown. COVID remains to make things super weird. I love the teardown. It was so cool to see the whole thing taken apart and everything else. But it felt so weird at just being a single dude in an all blank white room and just like, it felt like crazy weird, but there was some really cool technical stuff, which I am not at all in the brain frame to talk about. So I will take the simple dumb route out and go, I like the removable panels, and I really hope for customization down the road, because I've already seen some images floating around that make me want to turn my PS5 into a slick Spider-Man one. So where you guys are at with the PlayStation 5 teardown, was there anything that's jumped out to you? I am not a hardware guy, so I was just kind of sitting there like, this is cool. That's really big. Is that where the disc goes? That's kind of where I was at. So if you guys have any more useful input than that, feel free to jump in.
It was mostly standard stuff to me. Like, it's just it was cool. The one neat thing to me that was really cool is you could bludgeon someone to death with that heat sink. that thing is big.
That's a big boy.
yeah. That heat sink is like, okay, we gotta cool this thing. You gotta keep it cool on the inside. I definitely chuckled when I first saw it. Like, good for them. But beyond that, like, it's console teardown. It's just, it'll be more interesting. I want to see more stuff running on it. That's just where the insides are nice. It's neat seeing how it's put together. I just don't think it's particularly special.
Yeah. Eric, what about you? Real taco sauce gang?
Yeah, more real taco sauce. Yeah. I'm like moderately like it's cool to see. So I'm moderately into this kind of thing. I know there are people who are very much into seeing this kind of stuff. Again, this is bubble stuff to me, like the Twitter bubble, where there are people who really care about it, who are really interested in, and there are people who are interested for all the other reasons of just having something to talk about that's not really game related. It's just a different type of game, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, that's cool, and I kind of go on. That's not really what I'm interested in seeing, because I'm the end result person. I just want the console. I want to play my game, and I'm rolling. So when I see these things, I kind of laugh, because I always think back to trying to, go to the playground when I was a kid, and I try to hold on to that inner child. And you're sitting there in the monkey bars with your friends, and you're talking about the different like games that you're playing in the consoles and what you're looking forward to. And if you had that one friend that came out and said, yeah, but are they going to tear this thing down so we can see what's inside of it? You would have beat the shit out of that kid.
But Eric, what about the Sega Dreamcast heatsink? Is that
I know there's always that kid who probably did tear it down. Like, I could see Sam being that kid that tore down a console to see what was going on the inside. But I know that's where that's where Sam's head is. So I know that. I get that. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, I've torn plenty of 360s apart.
Right. But because that's what you study. That's the thing. You're into engineering. You're into that stuff, right? So it's sort of like, again, it's like a thing where it's like, if you're into it, that's beautiful. You're the guy that sat and listened to Mark Cerny. Like you said, you sat and listened to him. You were in awe of the things that he was saying, right? Mm-hmm. But it becomes the console war fodder for the majority. And I'm just like, you guys don't care this much about this. I just don't believe it. I'm not buying it.
Yeah. I am going to be 100% real. When it comes to hardware knowledge, if there's a hardware question I have, I DM Jared or Sam, and I'm like, hey guys, what's this? I had to Google what a heat sink was for. I was like, a heat sink? Is that like where you store the heat? I'm like, do you like your dishes in there? Like I'm completely ignorant. To Glorious War's point, yeah, tons of people watched it on YouTube. I had 5 guys at work that instantly watched the video, and they were like, where's the games? I'm like, no, they're just tearing apart the console. They're like, we don't give a shit.
The other thing I was laughing at, I was like, I should send this to my cousin. So did you mean to send? I can see him text me back. Did you mean to send me that?
Like, where's the rest of it?
Right.
But I think for me, like, I've always said this, and people can fucking call me a nerd for it, but like, a company tearing down the console, that's cool. Microsoft did their tear down of the Series X. I was like, oh, cool. It's cool. But like, when like Digital Foundry gets their hands on and they explain what it means for the games, that's really cool to me, because it's like, I'm not smart enough to correlate what did what does this mean in the long term? Like I'm smart enough to realize that like cooling is a major focus of both the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, and that these consoles do run hot. Or because of the amount of hardware. You cannot tell me that heat was not an issue with both these consoles when they were designing them, because the PlayStation 5 wouldn't be 6 feet freaking tall and the Xbox Series X wouldn't look like my computer did 5 years ago. You can't tell me otherwise. If you are, you're full of shit.
I mean, we want, you got to keep getting the power up, but also like stuff can only shrink down so much. If they want to get it up, and got to make them big.
And
you want to slam a 3090 in that PS5, it's going to get hella thick.
Sorry, what was that?
Like, one design went tall, the other one went like stout and like wide. But you know, they went with the casing that they thought was going to work best. But that's the thing, people have to start getting their head around. More graphic power, more heat.
Yep.
We're probably not going to get, I mean, they may change the form factor. They may figure some things out to maybe get a little size off of it, but we're not going to get much smaller than where we are.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure if in 4 years there will be an eventual like slim revision, which is maybe a little sleeker, like they refine some stuff. They'll figure it out, but like the overall shape is not changing. We're staying with this form factor for the time being, and that's okay. That's totally all right. Like, I'm gonna meme both to hell and back, but at the end of the day, one goes in the entertainment center, one goes behind the TV, and that'll be the end of it. But
I said the other day, both go vertical, because I'm sorry. There are designs on these consoles that they're meant to be a certain way. Like, I don't have my PS4 Pro or my Xbox One, standing vertical, because they just, to me, don't look right that way. Yep. These two don't look right laying on their side. They just don't to me. I'm sorry.
I said it on Twitter. I'll say it again. If you lay either of these consoles on their side, your bloodline is weak and you will not survive the winter.
Hey, we're back to team sticker, no sticker, man. This is the new thing.
No, but honestly, I'm so glad they focused on cooling with both these consoles, because we have seen so much FUD on overheating and everything. My Xbox Series X will be my new heater, while my PlayStation 5's in the corner on fire, as per NeoGAF. But the thing is that cooling's a major focus, which is important, because there's a lot of people with PC components will tell you, if you run hot all the time and you overclock all the time, you're going to burn out your components, which means the lifeline of your console, your life cycle is going to be shorter. But with cooling, proper cooling and airflow and everything else, you're going to have a console that lasts longer. So you're going to get a longer life cycle out of the console. Hopefully we won't see any more yellow light and red ring of death nonsense at the start of this generation. And with this teardown, I feel a lot more confident with the Xbox Series X after it being hands-on with people. And then, of course, with the PlayStation 5 teardown, cooling such a main proponent of what these consoles are doing, I'm really confident in buying one day one and not worrying about those issues. Because I know people get all angry about FUD and everything else all the time. As Eric's name says, overheated and screwed. The thing is like, that's a legitimate concern you can have when you're dealing with new technology, because a lot of the times with these new chips, these new processors, everything that's crammed into a console, they've never been used before. This isn't like PC components that are based upon a previous components. These are custom chipsets that were specifically designed for this. So they don't know how they're going to react in a year, 2 years, 3 years. They just have to try and create the ultimate perfect solution for it being a worthwhile working machine, and that is the closest I can get to tech jargon. I am sorry. But I will say it's nice, because you know what? We have seen the teardown of the console. We have backwards compatibility games. We've got a lot of stuff. We've got release dates for games. I am very, very happy man right now. I'm like social media. But the thing is like, all in all, this has been great. PlayStation nailed off a couple of things. I really, really got to shout myself out, because I think 2 episodes ago, a couple of people in the chat were like, well, Sony and Microsoft need to do another show to get all this information out. I said, nope, blog posts. That's all you need to do. Blog posts and videos. No more shows. No more hype. I am done. What is done is done, and it is done is done.
We are moving on.
We are moving on. I am going to listen to the next month of people being like, your Xbox Series X is going to explode, and your PlayStation 5 pings 5G and causes COVID-19.
I will say, like, I know this isn't really the subject matter here, but like, we don't need a show for either of them at this point. Like not for this year. Like, we'll talk again on that in 2021. We get to 2021, like there'll be stuff to talk about. It'll be time to start having state of plays, showcases, et cetera, et cetera. But for now, it's like we know what's here. We got the games for the next few months, y'all. Like, we're good.
Yeah,
we really are.
We're showed out.
Yeah. Showed out. Just figure out how to manufacture enough so I can get one. I will fight the next person for a pre-order. But I'm loaded full of turkey, so it's gonna be a slow motion fight. It's gonna be more like. But no, it's great. Next generation is a month away, and we're going to be in the new consoles. We might get another state of play for Demon's Souls or Spider-Man and UI. I don't think they really need to show anymore. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't like to see more, but I really don't think they need to show more of Demon's Souls or Spider-Man. The UI breakdown I could see coming in a blog post, maybe, or a video. But I don't think they'll do another show. I think we've seen it because they did 10 minutes of gameplay of Demon's Souls at the last time?
It wasn't quite 10 minutes. It was just a few minutes, but it was still good. Like, it was definitely still good.
We've seen some for Demon's Souls and Spider-Man Miles Morales. We got a good chunk of gameplay there. I think with both games we've seen enough to know what we're going into. Claw Hammer with Demon's Souls, but no, I think we're on. I know people get all negative and worry about so much stuff in here, but this is the most exciting console launch I've ever been alive for. Because let me tell you, last year, or not last, oh Jesus, this year's gone on too long. Back in 2013, we did not have Cyberpunk 2077, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Demon's Souls remake, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Gears Tactics. We didn't have any of those. We had freaking Red Shogun, which was a good game. I'll fight anyone on that. But Dead Rising 3, Rise, Son of Rome, like the game comparison, like people are like, it's 2013 all over again. I'm like, no, fam. You didn't play the games in 2013 if you think it's all over again. We've got some really high quality games coming up, and I'm just so excited. I just don't know how I'm going to afford it all.
Well, first you got to get your hands on it. That's the real trick.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna like Harley Quinn it. I'm gonna show up at EB Games at launch day, and the first person that comes out, baseball bat right to the knees.
That reminds me. I saw a viral tweet, just before we went live, of Thanos decking Iron Man, but it's like when you see the kid holding the last PS5 at Walmart. Shame.
It was funny. I was talking with my one buddy, and he was like, yeah, I couldn't get PS5 pre-order. And his son goes, Dad, why are you lying? We have a PlayStation 5 pre-order. He goes, shh. And I'm like, oh, do you now? It's going to be Purge up in Canada. There's going to be a bunch of people. You just get to see one PlayStation 5 making its way up across a parking lot with people beating each other for it.
Was that movie The Strangers where they showed up with like the bunny mask on and stuff?
Yeah. If anyone in the chat has any questions, throw them down below. This was a significantly shorter show than I expected.
A little lighter, a little fun.
Because if no one has any questions, you guys can be meandered with us talking about what we've been playing lately, because it's been a hot minute since we've done that. So, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
What have we been playing?
Oh, yeah. Games. Playing. What? I play podcasts. I do 6 podcasts a week. That is the game I play. No, I really don't. I usually hide myself offline and play video games all the time.
Your name's not Gaming Forte or Slow Mo Backslap, man. You're not doing that many times.
ain't gonna lie, Forte is like, he's like that one dude that appears on every TV show your wife watches. You're like, hey, there's that dude again. But no, shout out to Forte. He's like one of the most positive guys. Then whenever I see him on a panel, I'm just super happy because I'm like, at least there's someone that's got a positive state of mind that's on the panel.
Yeah, man. He's a good dude, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have to try to like book him sometime, but I feel like he's super overbooked.
That's the thing about Forte, man. He'll make a way. He'll make time. He'll get off work or he'll get off Scumcast and he'll jump right over.
What an MVP.
Yep.
What further off next gen games are you guys looking forward to? Oh, that's such a great question. I love that. Boy. Hold on, let me unfurl my list here.
Eric, what are you interested in?
Oh man, I kind of need to do the same thing with Nick, man. There's like so many games to rattle off.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, I'll go quick then. There's so many games, but in terms of next gen only, I'll keep it to next gen only games because I'm choosing to interpret that statement that way. Is what it is. I'm sorry. It's just how
Sam believes in generations.
Yes, Sam believes in generations. He does. He really does. We have proof from a couple of episodes ago. So I am definitely really interested. Okay, you know what? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say God of War Ragnarok for PlayStation. I'm holding a raised eyebrow. Don't do it. Don't give us a PS4 version. I'm warning you. Like, it just, you're on notice, Sony. I've been down that rabbit trail. I'm not going to rehash that. But for now, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say Ragnarok because, I mean, that's not what it's called yet, but we all know that's going to be the name. It is what it is. I love God of War. Can't wait for the next one. That's going to be awesome. On the Xbox side of things, I really want to see Avowed because I don't think that's quite as far off as a lot of people think it is. Obsidian's take on an Elder Scrolls style game is really good, and Obsidian has shown themselves to make really good RPGs, and them doing that, honestly, should help put Bethesda Game Studios on notice. Like, hey, you're part of the same family now, but you don't want your sibling to outshine you. You know how it is. You got to get the competition going. So, like, Bethesda, be taking some notes because I have complete faith in Obsidian to deliver.
Obsidian's that little brother that's like, hey, ball tag. Eric, you can go because I'm long-winded. So,
Sam threw out two really good ones there. That's definitely God of War and Avowed. See, that's the thing too. I'm not sure how, when we say how far out, what's coming, because I know Ratchet and Clank is definitely high on there for me.
I would say this is just me selectively interpreting, Eric. I would say it doesn't have a confirmed release window. I know God of War says 2021, but A, I don't believe that, and B, that's just a year. So we know Ratchet and Clank is supposed to be just a couple of months out after the console. So that's just the way I chose to interpret it.
Well, so we're gonna do that. I'll throw out Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, this man on pipe dreams. Okay.
Yes. See you in 2024.
No, Hellblade. I'm absolutely looking forward to Hellblade 2.
Good. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm almost ashamed I didn't pick that one now.
Yeah. So that's definitely high up on my list. And if I could, let's just throw out some stuff in the ether that's not even real or realized yet. I just want to see what, especially on the side of Microsoft where they required, Bethesda Softworks and stuff, what these guys may have planned next that may have been on the back burner, but now we're rolling.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So definitely that. So yeah, I mean, it's wild when you really think about it. I want to see. I definitely want to see. It got pushed back, but this is 343's time to really say, hey, this is your make it or break it point. Let's see what comes back with Halo.
Sure.
Yeah. So
I know
this is a good question, man.
It's a very good question because we can really rabbit trail with this.
Yeah.
We can do a whole
episode on this.
We could. Here's one, Eric, because Eric, you got me thinking now in terms of the whole stuff that isn't announced but has to be in the pipeline because of Bethesda. Wolfenstein 3 is coming.
Yeah.
Like proper Wolfenstein 3 with BJ. And I like Youngblood, to be fair. Like, I like Youngblood. I really do. I think Youngblood gets a bad rap, but a proper next-gen Wolfenstein, like, I'm on board.
I might have to give Youngblood another go because, again, maybe I just wasn't there in the headspace for it, and I need that co-op partner. So I don't know. Maybe one day you and I can revisit that.
That'd be a good idea. There's still some achievements I have left to earn it and all that, so I'd be happy to hop in co-op on it.
Okay.
But that one, whatever Arcane Austin is doing next, I have many different reasons to believe it's Prey 2, but which I know all three of us here are totally in on, if that's the case. but regardless of what it is, like, I trust them, whatever they're making.
When is Bright Memory supposed to be dropping? Because I really have my eye on that one.
Bright Memory, I know, like, the demo version that is just Bright Memory is dropping, like, this year. I think it's this holiday. I think Bright Memory Infinite, which is that one I think is coming early next year. Mm-hmm. I believe. I think it's like early 2021, something like that.
Okay.
So there's that for sure. Hogwarts Legacy, that's one.
Yeah.
I'm in on that. I'm totally in on a proper, like, Harry Potter RPG, just sinking into that world. Like, my brothers, obviously are big fans, just like I am. And my brother told me, he's like, yeah, that's actually going to become my life. Like, that'll be the real life. And I'm checking out with this one. I'm looking around like, yeah, you know what, Joseph, fair enough. I get it.
You know what? I'm at the same point. Fuck it. I'm going to go be a wizard in the UK. Not the strangest thing that's happened in 2020, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, so I'll kind of go. Sam took a vow from me because he's a son of a. I don't know. I can't think of an insult because your mom's a lovely lady. So
that's right.
More games than half of the gaming Twitter side, so I don't know what to do.
Deathloop. That's next year, but that's next gen only.
Deathloop. For myself personally, it's stuff that isn't announced right now. For example, like a little known fact, id Software has a small team that's working on the Doom Eternal expansions, but the main team has moved on to something else. And they said it's their most ambitious project yet, and they want to push the technical boundaries of what they have done to the limit. Which, if you play Doom Eternal, I do not know how you can push technical boundaries past that, considering they got 60 FPS on the VCR Xbox One. do not understand the wizardry of id. But that I'm really excited for. I'm going to throw this once again as a perspective one. Hangar 13's next Mafia game. Really excited to see what that looks like, because I was one of those weird people. I really loved Mafia 3. I thought they did a fantastic job in writing that story. The open world needed some work, but the main character was so charismatic and well written. And the story was just told in such a dirty and grainy, and it didn't hold any punches way for the time period it was set in. It was just so brilliant. I kind of want to see what they do next. It's the same kind of thing with what's Asobo doing after Flight Sim? Besides Microsoft buying them if they're smart. And my final one I'll toss into it is, I know a lot of people got turned off because it was like bullet hell and everything else, but Housemarque's game in 2021 as I'm there.
Returnal? Yeah.
I want to see them do good because if they don't, they'll cry.
Little Devil Inside is another one that really caught my eye at the Xbox showcase.
Oh, yeah. Resident Evil 8.
Yeah. Resident Evil.
As long as they don't port it to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, again, on notice. Don't do it. I'm sure it'll be just like Horizon. I'm sure it'll be great regardless, but don't do it.
No,
Black Ops 3 Black Ops 3 on 360.
Yeah, no, Kina, absolutely, Eric. Kina looks good. Kina looks real good. I'm trying to think. Okay, so we did the Microsoft thing. I'm trying to think of like what Sony could have in the wings that isn't announced. But I think the problem, and please bear the word problem in perspective here, is I think everything with them is either known or it's way too far out to be realistic, if that makes sense. Like, Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch don't have anything new yet. Okay, like those two just released games. Ben's studio is probably working on Days Gone 2, but that's probably going to be 2022. So it's tough, and I feel like outside of those three, we know what everyone else is working on. It's just, someone correct me if I'm wrong and if I'm missing something, but I'm going through them and I'm trying to think if they could have something else, like in the not immediate, but like maybe the next year and a half or so that isn't announced. And I don't think there is. I think we kind of know what the slate.
Edging on hyperbole, of course, there's some unknowns, and of course, things that we've heard about, but we have no confirmation of. Things like, what's Guerrilla Team 2 doing, right? Like, there's rumors that they're working on a multiplayer game. Is that real? Like, once again, like, what's going on? It's the same kind of thing with Initiative. We know they're working on something. It's probably Perfect Dark, but there's no real way of saying 100% that's right. What they're working on. We have that spin-off Naughty Dog team that happened 2 years ago now.
Yeah, and we haven't heard anything.
We haven't heard of Pete from Cobb, who's this, I believe, this studio head over there, in a while. So they've got to be cooking something. I was going to say, what's the Lost Legacy team doing? But I forgot they got rolled into The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, they did.
Question. Do you think they do a Lost Legacy style game off of The Last of Us? I just hit Sam upside the head with a baseball bat.
That's a good question. It's a good question. I mean, I pitched mine already. I already said that I want to see one like flashback style for Tommy, like flashback to when he and Joel were first on the run and their wife, like on the not so good side of things, but also like cut back to him burning his way through the wolves in Seattle. Like, you're sitting on gold there. You're sitting on gold. I'm telling you. It would be a good way to get like spoiler alert for The Last of Us Part 2. If you haven't played The Last of Us Part 2 yet, this is your warning. Like, mute for like 3 seconds. It would be a good way to get one last hurrah with Joel and like give that side of the story some closure. So if they do something like that, absolutely, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I have to wonder how much after the whole fiasco. I don't mean a fiasco because like Naughty Dog make a fantastic game, but I have to wonder with all the shit they were dragged through if they really want to go back to that IP like quick time.
Well, I mean, they're going to with factions regardless.
Shh, doesn't exist. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, it does.
That 15 minutes of leaked footage never happened. It is most certainly not.
That is crazy that much footage leaked. I actually tend to forget that.
Yeah, everyone forgets that there was a point where I was telling you guys, stay off of social media. I've got 45 minutes of The Last of Us Part 2 footage on my hard drive. I do not. Wow. Naughty Dog's lawyers, I do not have any footage of The Last of Us Part 2.
I'm trying to think if there's something else. There's a lot of games to be excited for, is I guess the best way of
I'm excited to see what oh god, I forgot the studio. God damn it.
Give me a name. Give me a game name. I can help
you. Concrete Genie.
Pixel
Opus. I want to see what Pixel Opus does next because Concrete Genie was one of the coolest PlayStation games I played. I don't mean it was the best or like it was the most stunning, but it really brought me back to like a Sly Cooper era of games, and I really, really love that. And I'm always like hankering for more games like that. So I think Pixel Opus will do some dope things. I'm really interested to see what they can do with Dreams in PlayStation 5. I'm probably like one of like 5 people in the bubble that still care about Dreams, but there's still an amazing and hard working community in that game. And that game continues to get tons and tons of updates. So yeah, no, there's so many games to be excited for. And we still have the infamous 3 that's going to shadow drop on launch day.
Okay.
My uncle's cousin's friend works at Nintendo who has a dog that sometimes sits outside Sony headquarters, and he told me that.
If there are the things we put up with here, if there's no other questions though, like I guess what have you guys been playing? We can just sort of slow down, wrap up on that note.
All right,
Eric, you play games?
I do play games in between my Twitter rants. I've actually had a little bit of like gaming ADD. Like I haven't really been able to like laser in on any one thing in particular. I just kind of been jumping around and seeing what kind of sticks and where I've kind of landed. I played Shadow Warrior. I finished that last week. Finally, I mean, after when that came out, like the beginning of the generation, you know. And I know Shadow Warrior 3 is going to be coming up soon. But if anybody has not played that game, and on Xbox in general, it didn't seem like a lot of people maybe did because it was popping rare achievements like crazy as I was going through it. But really fun game, just like really fun shooter, just hack and slash and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend that game. Then I started playing Link's Awakening, trying to give the Switch a little love. Haven't been on there, very much in the last few months. So jumped on that. But then been talking to Slow Mo, and he's been playing Genshin Impact on PC and PS4. More so PC, and so is B Money. So hearing him talk about it, I finally gave it a go. I started last night actually. Man, it's fun. Well, it's just like a fun, like really good game, and I'm just definitely you definitely see the inspiration of Breath of the Wild in there. And they don't hide that at all. The fact that the games that were their inspiration in creating this, but as a free to play game, it's actually the game systems. While it has the aesthetic of Breath of the Wild, it does not at all share like a lot of the gameplay loop of Breath of the Wild. Oh,
so it's actually good.
Nick, we're not gonna do that. Combat is definitely different. There's definitely a deeper like RPG system to it, deeper inventory system. Magic abilities, things like that. I mean, yeah, you do find ingredients, you do cook, you do have a glider, you have all that different stuff. I would actually say graphically, it's actually I think a little prettier than Breath of the Wild. But again, definitely shares that aspect. The mission structure is really cool. I'm just sitting there like, the thing is, it's free to play, but they give you so much, as far as currency and things like that. Like you're not really compelled to buy anything. Because you're constantly getting new weapons. You're getting new gliders, new items to equip, things like that. So, and I've only been playing it for a few hours now. But it's I definitely recommend people checking it out, giving it a go. Like, you have nothing to lose. It's free to play. You do unlock different ranks. I think at rank 16, you unlock the ability to co-op. So that is something Breath of the Wild didn't have. So yeah, that's where I'm at in Genshin Impact.
Actually, that's really cool too. It's funny you say that you don't feel pressured to buy anything, because I think I saw Zehuge tweet earlier today that was like the top grossing Chinese game worldwide, and it's made something like $100 million or something already, which is astounding for a free to play game with no IP like backing behind it.
Right. I guess they got that. Because you get in a game like this, if you have that good gameplay loop, you're gonna get whales that they want to unlock everything. They get into it. They don't care about spending the money. So you definitely have that. But I guess they're definitely servicing people who are like, no, maybe I'll spend a little bit here and there, or I don't know, plan on spending anything at all. It might take you a little bit longer, but I have not so far in my time playing it have felt like I need to play and unlock anything, or feel the need to unlock anything. So.
Yeah. That's really good game design. I really think China's a place, I know, like politics and everything aside, there's some really interesting games coming out of China in the next couple of years, and it'll be interesting to see how that development scene innovates and changes how we play games and what kind of games we play, because they have some really unique stuff coming out of there. Sam, what have you been playing?
Yeah, so it feels really weird to be able to talk about this because usually embargoes mean that I can't talk about a game I've been playing until the review comes out or whatever. But I can mention I've actually been playing Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition for review.
You son of a...
It's fun. It's fun. For anyone who knows me, Age of Empires 3 is probably like my least favorite or most contested, even though I love all Age of Empire games. I love everything Ensemble did. Rest in peace. Age of Empires 3 was the weakest just due to the setting, but there are some interesting changes that make it a lot more palatable. Obviously, all the DLC is included. They've added some new civilizations. The Swedes and the... who was it? It's the Swedes and the Incas, I believe, have been added to the game. And so you have this vast swath of obviously the colonial setting with like the British and the Dutch and the Portuguese and the Germans, but you also have the Mexican civilizations and the Sioux tribes and then the Asian dynasties as a setting. So it's very cool. It's very broad and comprehensive now, as opposed to the game that first launched in 2005. It looks really good. Animations seem good. It runs well on my computer. I can't mention what I'm going to like give it in terms of review score, but I can say I'm having a good time with it, and I've been enjoying that.
Nice. Oh, I guess it's me now.
Yeah,
It's all you, man. Sorry, man.
I don't play video games. Actually, I've been playing a ton of games that I never want to speak of. I never want to look at. I never want to.
Oh yeah, you're on the mission, so you.
I gave up on actually trying to compete in that mission. I'm just gonna try to do my best and have fun doing it. I racked up like 15,000 gamer score in like 5 days, and I was like, I've already spent too much money trying to get the games that are easy to finish. So I checked True Achievements leaderboard, and there was someone with 52,000 in 5 days, and I was like, okay. I can't compete with people that are still living in their mother's basement, so I'm done. I'm just going to try and give it my best go and have fun with it. So in mention of that, I'm not playing necessarily super easy games, but games that are a little bit more forgiving in terms of achievements. So I actually decided to start playing the super hot expansion, which is called Mind Control Delete, which I got free because I owned the game prior, or I can't remember how they rolled that out. I got it for free. I didn't pay anything for it, but Super Hot is such a fantastic game. The blending of, hey, it's the Matrix, but it's kind of like a puzzle game. But in the end, you're still throwing katanas at guys. It's a great blend of both those things. It's just super fun. The gameplay levels are a little repetitive, but I'm really having a great time with it because the combat's just so good. And just smacking little red dudes all the time is just great.
Yeah, that game's got a nice fun loop to it.
And also something they added in that I don't remember from the original game, they must have consulted with Mick Gordon at some point because it's got a killer metal soundtrack now, which I do not remember being in the first game. Like when you queue into quote unquote boss levels, it cues this track, just hits you in the chest. I love it. Also been playing a little bit of Iron Harvest, and I will be playing some Hunt the Showdown because I picked that up for $5 on a blowout sale at my EB Games. So that's kind of what I've been doodling and noodling around in. No embargo stuff this week because just too busy with other stuff to deal with embargoed stuff. So yeah, that's been the show, guys. It's been a great show. Always great talking video games and nonsense with these guys. And we're going to have another great show next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because Eastern Standard Time is the time zone that matters. And now that I've lost the entire West Coast audience of the show, where can people find you, Sam, if they're looking for you and your work?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's TOLBERT. You can find what I write on Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore. Obviously, I can't mention an exact day or time, but be on the lookout for Age of Empires 3 coverage. That'll be coming for the Definitive Edition. And pray for my sanity because Prime Week is coming up. So I'll die.
What's
Prime Week?
Prime. Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime Day. It's when Amazon goes nuts putting stuff on sale. Like, hey, here's 10 Blu-rays, 99% off, or just nonsense like that.
Yeah, and usually what happens with that is like they always hype it up, and then the next day people are like, man, that day it sucked. They didn't have anything. They have better deals day to day. So just follow Wario.
Yeah, seriously, follow Wario.
I legitimately have no regrets about not having a credit card and never using Amazon at this point. Because the moment I see a good monitor go on sale, that money's getting spent. So I don't need that temptation in my life. Eric, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, EC Jackson with an X. And when I'm not around there, which I'm in and out these days, some days are better than others around here, the bubble. When I'm not there, you can find me on Brat Podcast Wednesday nights at 9:00. And of course, here, Saturday nights at 8:00.
Absolutely. And I'm Nicholas Downey, and I host this great podcast every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I encourage you, if this is your first time watching, go and watch some of our great back catalog over the past couple of weeks. We've had some great insights from people like Randall Thor, Benji Sales, and of course, the drunk cat himself, Alcoholocaust. And we've got many more great episodes coming up in the future with tons of people that provide different insights and, wait for it, perspectives. So I'm excited to share those with you guys in the coming weeks, and stay tuned for more stuff coming to this channel very soon. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. I really am not around as much as I used to be anymore. I'm kind of drifting away from social media that way. And if you want to find me, you can find me on Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, everything else, Undead3XVI. I'm more than happy to talk games and everything else. And this week has been a week, and we will see you guys next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. Have a great week.